With Season 11 just around the corner, you are probably aware that with this update, a couple of the raid exotics will now be able to be farmed in the Dark Zone. But of course there is one thing that hinders the happy farmer from effortlessly running through the Dark Zone: rogues. So this will be a beginner's guide for farming the Dark Zone, solo, but these tips will also help with a group. I won't be talking about PvP in this video, just what you can do to get the most out of the Dark Zone while avoiding other players as much as possible. I frequent the Dark Zone a lot, mostly for a change of scenery, but I don't really bother with the PvP side of things, because I find the Division PvP system a little bit weird. With this in mind, I suggest running a PvE build. Yes, you'll be screwed if you come across other players who want to have a fight, but the idea around this video is how to avoid these situations. I'm an idiot and I like to run full DPS with almost everything I do, but I wouldn't suggest this for everyone. Instead, I'd recommend a build with at least a couple of million armor. But don't put too much into survivability. You need to be able to take down NPCs relatively quickly, so you aren't hanging around anywhere for too long. The Heartbreaker set is a good example of decent survivability with high DPS. The skills are up to you. As a solo player, you may want to run a Reviver Hive, but the Jammer Pulse and Decoy are also very useful for distracting NPCs when rushing through the landmarks. Before diving in, one of the biggest things you need to get your head around is that whatever drops, whatever you find in the Dark Zone that needs to be placed into your contamination bag, isn't yours until you manage to extract it. Until it's safely attached and flying off in the distance underneath the helicopter, anyone has the chance to be able to take it from you. Once you understand and get your head around this, you'll have a much better time in this area. Trust no one. Treat every player as if they're about to turn on you. Even that solo player running around minding his own business has the potential to catch you off guard and gun you down before you can react. And if you're there to farm, you're likely running a PvE build, so you probably won't stand a chance. It's cool if you want to team up with other players and farm more effectively, but play it smart. Don't tell them if you manage to find something amazing, and just be prepared for them to potentially take everything you may get. It's not unheard of for players to invite others into their team, just to boot them and kill them just before extracting, effectively making you a mule to carry more gear. But don't get angry if this happens. This is the nature of the Dark Zone. Yes, it can be frustrating, but this is what the Dark Zone is all about. And like I said, the loot was never yours until you get it onto that helicopter. If you're having trouble with other players, consider moving to another Dark Zone. In my region at least, they aren't particularly busy, and even if this update brings more players along, there's likely to be other PvE players, so let them draw the attention of the rogues, while you do your best to stay out of sight. Another thing worth mentioning is to look out for this little warning in the bottom right hand corner. It isn't so important in busy servers, but in quiet ones, where you are stealthing around the map, seeing this means that players are close, and they can now see where you are. The same goes if you are running a pulse. While it might be nice to see what's happening around you, you'll also be alerting them to your presence. I can't stress this point enough. A large part of successfully farming the Dark Zone is knowing the map, but this will take some time and repetition. Being comfortable with your surroundings will help you both with anticipating what's happening in front of you and how to get away from potential threats. For example, if you were to come across an area and the NPCs aren't there, it's safe to assume that another player or players are nearby. Same goes if you find chests that have already been looted. Because we're here for farming and not PvP, knowing where to run is needed and quite important. You want to make sure you're not running straight into a bunch of NPCs that will slow you down. Or maybe, if you're feeling up to it, you do want to run towards NPCs and then turn on the rogues that will be getting fired at from all angles. And at this point, it's worth noting that in the Dark Zone, you're going to die to start with. You're going to die a lot. But this doesn't matter. You may lose some gear if you're carrying, but if not, you lose nothing. So use this. If you need to sacrifice yourself in order to successfully extract gear, do it. Or maybe you just feel like finding a faster way to the checkpoint. Use every death as a learning experience. Some can't be avoided, but most of the time it comes down to your situational awareness and the way you react. Maybe you don't care too much for the gear that can be farmed in the Dark Zone, and that's fair enough. There has never been anything before these exotics being added that has driven me to farm the area. However, the DZ credits or resources can be quite useful, especially when the vendors reset and offer something that you may have not been able to acquire via other means. Well, there are a number of chests you can get these from in the Dark Zone, but this can be pretty slow. Instead, I'm going to refer to a video from Sergeant Greybeard. I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. Subscribe to his channel if you would like to be kept up to date with all things Division. He's also a bloody nice guy. He's one of those people that I may never meet in real life, but will always consider a friend. And unlike so many, he does this whole YouTube thing for the love of the games. Anyway, this video offers a different way of collecting DC resources, one that I wasn't aware of and have tried out multiple times since. I highly recommend checking out his video, as it will give a far more detailed description, but I'll attempt to sum it up. First, create a new character. Choose the main campaign, not Warlords of New York. Run through the opening scene and get to the base of operations. Once you have jumped into the main game, after talking to Manny etc., go into the store and select the level 30 boost. You'll then be loaded into the game with a level 30 character. Now you will be given a whole bunch of level 30 high-end gear, but to be honest, your build will be rubbish. And this is probably the largest thing you'll need to overcome. From here you can start farming the dark zones. These are the level 30 dark zones, rather than the level 40 ones you'll be running on your main character. After trying this many times, I still haven't run into another player. I was able to farm happily, deconstruct items, and extract without issues. It was like a PvE dark zone. After you extract, you can log back in with your main character and find your extracted items in the mailbox. Now obviously the weapons and gear are only level 30, so won't be much use. That's why this is more suited to DZ resource farming. Deconstruct everything you pick up to gain extra DZ resources and extract. Like I said, check out Greybeard's video. This should be up in the top right corner, but I'll also have it in the description. Extracting is the hardest part of the dark zone. Putting up that flare essentially announces your presence to everyone on the map. This more or less comes under the Know the Map section, but if you are new to the dark zone, I'd highly suggest extracting a bunch of rubbish gear in multiple different areas to start with, so you get comfortable with how it all works. Learn the layout of the map around the extractions, get an idea of where the NPCs and even the players are likely to come from. You'll quickly find your favourite extraction points to use, based on the available cover and escape routes. When you first fire the flare, don't just stand directly under it, waiting for the helicopter. Find a vantage point that is as far away as possible, that allows you to watch over the area, but still able to abort and move on if needed. Leave the NPCs. If they are there, they will attack any players that come along, giving you a better chance of escaping undetected. If no players turn out, throw out your decoy to draw the NPC fire, and attach your items to be extracted. Don't throw your items on as soon as the helicopter arrives. Give it a while, and attach them in the last 30 seconds or so. It takes a while to cut the extraction rope, so if players arrive at the last minute, they'll either run out of time or rush in completely open, allowing you to throw grenades and open fire. If your server happens to be busy, you may have to throw out some fake extractions and keep moving around the map until you feel comfortable. Depending on how good your gear is, it's likely your patience will be far greater than the rogues chasing you around. These are just a few tips on top of all mentioned so far. When running down the street, stick to the sides. Don't just run wildly down the middle, even if you aren't being chased. Break the line of sight and keep obstacles in front and behind you. Keep an eye on the kill feed. If you take nothing else away, this is one of the most important tips. The feed will not only tell you that stuff is going down, but also how far away they are. I actually prefer a server where I can see the rogues running around, because I know exactly where to farm and where to extract. You need to be cautious when farming landmarks, because when they're cleared, they'll appear grey on the map. So players looking for some PvP will often look out for this, and can often predict your next move based on the landmarks you've cleared so far. Turn on your VoIP. I was always against this, due to the saltiness and ridiculous abuse being thrown out there by every 10 to 13-year-old with a mic. But with it turned on, you can often hear these players coming from blocks away, particularly on console. If you're in a situation where players show up while you're clearing a landmark, or even if you join in and help others take down NPCs, if you're worried about getting jumped, leave the gear on the ground and don't pick it up. It'll last for quite a while, so just leave it there and move on. You can always come back later and get it. The Dark Zone is an ugly place for a lot of players, and this isn't without reason, but it needs to be seen as a high-risk, high-reward area. If you're getting ganked by players over and over, move to another Dark Zone. The high-reward aspect of the DC has sort of been lost for a while now, but with the addition of these raid exotics, we're seeing some changes here. I both love and hate the Dark Zone, and as a solo player, I believe this is how it should be. I'm never going to be any match against a team of 4 with half-decent builds coming against me, but I can sure make it difficult for them. As far as the potential for abuse goes, don't hold back from reporting players who are going beyond what you would call acceptable. It may not have any immediate impact, but each report goes against the player and may assist with them being banned in the future. But don't just ban people who have absolutely destroyed you in a fight. This will definitely happen. Save it for the people who are outright cheating or abusing people. If you have any other tips for players new to the Dark Zone, please feel free to post them in the comments. I'm currently writing and recording this in the middle of the largest weather event New Zealand has ever seen during my lifetime, Cyclone Gabrielle. So we'll see how long it takes me to have this recorded and put together and uploaded. I expect it'll be a little late. Anyway, I'm going to go brave the elements and attempt to cut down some more trees that are looking to fall over, and my fence looks pretty rough, plus maybe add some more strops to the trampoline. I hope you found this video useful, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers!